Okay, so we are actually at the crossing site where the patrol came across. So, a quick orientation. 101st Easy Company on this side of the river. The Germans are across on on this side of the river. There were no houses over here, so this was all open. It was just farms. This had some really nice big homes along there, and a few of them are remaining, including OP2. But all this vegetation was gone. It was absolutely open. So each platoon was assigned an observation post, which were one of these, big houses. They actually had more firepower than they typically would have, because when the regular infantry guys from the 313th Regiment pulled out, they left behind some of their 50 caliber machine guns and things like that that don't exist in an airborne unit. So in the houses, they had 50 cals, they had their own regular 30 caliber machine guns, they had artillery support. The Germans, of course, had artillery mortars and a railroad gun well to the back, and that would just fire periodically these massive shells that would come in. So Easy Company moves into here on the 5th of October, and they get settled in, and finally by the 12th this relief is complete. So now they're 100% responsible, and now Colonel Sink, being an aggressive guy and paratroopers being who they are, Sink immediately wants to know what's the situation right now. So we wanted patrols and prisoners. So he orders 2 patrols. Actually, he orders Easy and Fox Company to send out patrols on the night of the 15th. On the patrol with F Company, there's just like Hank Jones, Lieutenant Jones, there's another West Point grad like Jones, who were actually destined for the 13th Airborne Division. Jones, and he actually graduates from West Point with Ike's son on June 6, 1944. He goes to infantry training, he volunteers for airborne training, he volunteers for overseas service. The 13th Airborne is starting to form in England, and then a call comes out for platoon leaders in the 101st Airborne, because they've lost so many after the Battle of the Bulge. And so Jones and about 10 other guys volunteer. He wants to get to the front. Jones is going to get here with a couple of other lieutenants. Jones gets assigned. Gotta love European sirens. Or
just for you.
Not. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Jones gets here. He gets assigned to 2nd Platoon Easy Company. This other lieutenant, I believe his name is Fitzgerald, he gets assigned to F Company. When his patrol goes across, he's accompanying them, just like Jones would do, but he trips a shoe mine and is killed. And he had been with F Company for maybe 4 or 6 hours at this point. And one time I was talking about this, and somebody was on the phone and found out, they gave me the name, and they said, and then they read this beautiful letter from Fitzgerald's company commander to his family, saying that he died leading his men. He was, he's missed by all of us. He was a fantastic leader, and all of this stuff that made the family feel better, but was 100% rubbish. Unfortunately, I've read a lot of those, but it's a necessity. You don't want to say, dear mom and dad, your son showed up and got killed on the first day and nobody knew him. He wasn't leading the patrol, but he wanted to learn. So that's F Company's sector, which is several 100 yards to your right. Now, the patrol, it's actually 20 men, not 15. And they're going to split into 2 patrols. So when they get the order on the 12th, by the 13th and 14th, the guys are actually training with the boats further to the rear. They're going to be 4 boats, 5 soldiers, 5 troopers in each boat. One of the patrols is going to be led actually by a guy named Ken Mercier. In the series, they show it being led Johnny Martin, thank you. Instead of Ken Mercier, because Johnny Martin had already been established as a character in the series. They hadn't brought in Mercier, and they didn't want to go, here's a, they wanted familiar faces. Apart from that, on the patrol was Tony Garcia, was Eugene Jackson. Babe was not on the patrol, but the idea is Shifty Powers would actually take one group of 10 guys, and he was going to go that way. And Johnny Martin was going to take his guys and go to a building a couple hundred yards off that way. In fact, if you on the other side, it's the rebuilt remnants is still there. It's a farm. What happens is Shifty actually jumps in the water, swims across. He ties a rope, but he's soaking wet and freezing. But he gets back in the boat. Everybody gets across. First two boats are Shifty's patrol. They head off that way, don't find anything, get back. Johnny Martin's patrol, however, loses one of the boats. So the one with Cobb, and we're not exactly sure who the other four are, but their boat flips. The guys try and right it. It flips again, and by that time the current is taking them down so far, they just go back to the shore. So now there's only five troopers over here. One of them is a guy named Forrest Guth. They showed him at the beginning of the last episode. Pick the nicest looking guy. Forrest is about this tall. Became an industrial arts teacher after the war. I mean, just the most unassuming man, original Toccoa man. They even had costumes and everything set for him, but the way the script worked, they couldn't fit him in. If you've ever seen the pictures of the guy with the German helmet in Normandy on June 6th, that's Forrest. He's the guy that actually stole a German camera that day, and he took a lot of great photos. So it's only 5 guys coming across. From that point, so much of it is accurate. They get to the building. Eugene Jackson, now there are accounts that he fired a rifle grenade. There are other accounts that he threw a grenade. Either way, it was his grenade, and he was the first one in the building, and the grenade detonated in his face, mortally wounding him. They did get in. The series and the books say they took 3 prisoners, one of whom was very seriously wounded. According to Forrest, who had no reason to embellish, he said, we actually took 4 prisoners, but one of them became a problem. So what'd you do? We took care of the problem.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
During the crossing, at least in the series, something flips and one of the guys says, help, I can't swim.
That was so the boat that had Cobb, that was the second boat in Johnny Martin's patrol, that's the one that flipped.
Why would they send someone that can't swim? That's all they had.
It's all they had.
Okay.
So they've already, the Germans are they grab the prisoners, they take care of their problem guy, they bring the 3 prisoners down, and by this time the Germans have been alerted, and it's just what we call a final protective fire, a mad minute. When Martin's blowing the whistle, every gun along the shore here is going to just be firing in support, because by that time they've gotten up here and they're now down over the slope, and anything that's coming this way is going to get just torn up. They successfully get across, and just like the episode, Eugene Jackson unfortunately is going to die in the basement of the house we'll go to in a minute. Lieutenant Jones will come across. By the way, I found a few accounts of Lieutenant Jones, and the guy thought he was a really solid guy. He was with the platoon for several weeks. It wasn't, all right, you're here one day and you're promoted. And there was an effort toward the end of the war. West Pointers were regular Army officers, so they're the guys that were going to stay in command after the war was over. Hank Jones actually transfers to the 82nd Airborne Division, will eventually become a company commander there on occupation duty in Berlin. From that point, that's when he takes over that counterintelligence team in Berlin. He gets in a car accident, And then a little less than a year later, in I believe 1947, he goes and has surgery for complications from the accident and dies on the table. But by all accounts, really an incredible guy. A few days prior to the patrol, on the 12th, the day that Easy officially took over, they showed Bill Keane being killed by a mortar artillery round, and they said he had a sack of potatoes. That's another case of one of those stories that just sort of perpetuates. As Paul Rogers tells it, and Paul was a platoon sergeant, original Tacoma man. He's the guy that rolled Jim Alley out of the plane in Normandy. Bill Keane, Tacoma man, great guy. He was actually at the highest physical fitness score in the entire regiment. I mean, the guy was just in phenomenal physical condition. Interestingly enough, he was almost blind in one eye. He had a sympathetic eye doctor at the induction center that allowed him to get in. And according to Shifty and Paul, Bill, like, kind of, even though he was physically fit, he kind of barely got through Toccoa. And through Normandy and Holland, they always kind of felt like they were kind of helping Bill along. When they get settled, when they're finally settled in, Paul says Bill goes out to the backyard of one of these houses, and there's a little shed, and it was filled with potatoes. And he went in there with a book, and he just said, "Paul, I need some time alone." Then he goes into the shed. After a little while, Paul comes out, checks on him, and he's just like, "Damn it, Paul, I just need some time alone." Paul's like, "Okay." And he leaves, and shortly thereafter, an artillery round or a mortar round comes in and hits that shed and kills him. He's the second to the last guy, but he's original Tacoma man that's killed just, trying to get some alone time. Any questions before we head over, and I'll point out the OPs?
How far was the house?
I'd say it's about 300 yards, just like straight that way. So not far, but then again, this was all open. And I will say that when the reason that Sink orders these patrols on the 12th, that's the day that he is officially handed, "You now have responsibility for this sector, this regimental sector." And him being an aggressive guy, and the paratroopers want him to be an aggressive guy, like I said at the beginning, but they want to dominate the terrain. They want to find out what the Germans are doing. They want to keep the pressure on them. That's why he sends the patrols out. Yes, he's happy with getting prisoners. And yes, the next day he orders another patrol. However, when we get on the other side of the street, I'm going to point out the Easy Company CP, because there's a little deck out there. It's not the original one, a little balcony kind of thing. Sink comes down in the middle of the day. He's with a guy named Colonel Allen, who is the regimental commander for the glider infantry guys, and both of them are demonstrably intoxicated. And so of course he's being escorted by the battalion commander, who's Dick Winters. They go to the Easy Company CP, where Ron Spears is, and they say Sink and Allen are out there in front of God and everybody, where they can be seen pointing and doing all this. And that's when Sink orders another patrol. And the fact that it was a stupid idea, the fact that he knew that Colonel Sink was intoxicated, he assumed his own risk, and he did just what he said. "You guys go to sleep, we're going to write up a fake report." So either two things happen. Either Sink doesn't remember ordering the patrol, or he woke up, sobered up, and realized that it was a really bad idea. So when he gets a report, faked or not, he doesn't say anything. And Winters was a little nervous after he did that. He knows he made the right decision, but he also knows he disobeyed a direct order. Even if I don't think there's anything in the Uniform Code of Military Justice that says first of all, you have a responsibility to disobey unlawful orders, but you must obey lawful orders. Whether or not those are given under intoxication, I don't think is specified. That's up for interpretation. and it's just on the 18th, a few days later, they're going to get easy. The whole division's going to get pulled off the line, and they're going to get to go back to Mormilan for just a short period before they turn around and get sent back down this way, but into the heart of Germany.
So the 12th, Eric, was that the 12th of March?
12th of February.
February.
So they come in on the 5th, and by the 12th, they've got full responsibility. The patrol goes out on the 15th, and by the 18th, they're told to truck up and go back to France.
Do you know, did they get any reasonable intelligence from those?
That just confirms
prisoners?
what they already
Already
knew
knew?
is, yeah, they knew it was the 275th Volksgrenadier, which the previous guys had known, and you know the guys who were there didn't want to be there. But again, it did confirm. You know, it's great to have intelligence, but it's also great to get confirmation. Yeah.
Did they pull out that soon after that they didn't go on the second patrol? Or was there withdrawing from here that soon?
No, because it.
What's the question?
Yeah. About whether or not they pulled out right away, and that's why the patrol didn't go. The patrol goes in the very early morning of the 15th. By the afternoon of the 15th, that same day, Sink is drunk and happy, and so he orders the patrol for that night, which would be the early morning hours of the 16th. It's on the 18th that they get word that they're leaving. So they don't, up to that point, they don't know they're being pulled off the line. Even Sink's assumption is, okay, we're here, and we're going to keep going from here. They actually get relieved by the 36th Division, Texas National Guard guys, who by this point also have the 442nd Nisei Regimental Combat Team, the most decorated regiment within the United States Army, the Japanese American Nisei Regiment. So we'll walk around. I want to point out